to our guest here in just a moment. I want to ask him how he got involved in researching all this. Jesus. People could say ancient history. This is so important to what then happened in our world and gives you a mindset into the establishment running things today. Because as ruthless as they were back then, they were choir boys compared to the folks running things today in the West. Before we go back to our guests, I want to tell you about a few of the sponsors that have made today's show possible. One of them is Diginet Personal Audio Video Recorder. I want to tell you about our sponsor, Diginet.net, Diganet.net, Diginet.net, where you can get the highest quality surveillance gear for the best prices, and I mean the best prices. Everyone should have one of their DigiPens. This unit is a video and audio recording device disguised as a pen. As an unbiased witness, it can always be at your side, ready to help, and is admissible as evidence in court if necessary. With 2 and 4 gig models, you can record 2 hours or more of continuous audio video, and you will not believe the quality when you see it for the first time. Check it out by clicking on the Diginet banner on Infowars.com. You can view the video. All you have to do is just plug the pen directly into your computer's USB port. With the date and time listed on the video, you will be able to use the pen as solid evidence in court. Go and see more of the other amazing surveillance equipment, like a little system they put in your car that's hidden cameras, very inexpensive and goes on a little SD card, with prices and quality that can't be beat. Diginet.net. That's Diginet.net, or click on the banner at Infowars.com. Also, there is FrontSight.com. Have you heard of the millionaire patriot, Dr. Ignatius Piazza? The founder of the Front Sight Firearms Training Institute is offering a free handgun and 5 days of firearms training to my listeners. This offer is only available for a limited time because Dr. Piazza is literally paying his own money out of his pocket to be able to offer you this deal, and it won't last forever, so listen up. You can attend 5 days of world-class gun training at the Front Sight Firearms Training Institute and secure a 30-state concealed weapons permit, all for pennies on the dollar. Act fast, and they will give you a free Springfield Armory XD pistol in the caliber of your choice. I believe now is the time for you and your family to be armed and trained to levels that exceed even law enforcement and military standards. Front Sight provides such training without any boot camp mentality or drill instructor attitudes. Thousands have already taken advantage of this opportunity, and you should too. Don't miss out. FrontSight.com today and get your training and free gun. That's FrontSight.com, FrontSight.com, or visit them by clicking on the banner at Infowars.com today. All right, going back to Robert Wilcox, author of Target Patton. Before we continue with the assassination, what it's been like now that your book's out, the diaries confirmed, the eyewitnesses, the documents, all of this. If you had any repercussions, have you talked to Patton's family, his heirs, his ancestors?
No. They've been strangely silent. I tried early on in the beginning of writing this book to get in touch with them because I think they have either information or archives that really could help a person like myself who knows a lot more than anyone else about it simply because I've been working on it for 10 years. But there's been no real discussion from them. There was something posted on Amazon that someone said, "Why do you bring this up?" And it's the Kennedy syndrome. You know, they don't want to hear about it. I think they think it besmirches their hero's reputation. But this has to be put out in the open because he was a great patriot, and what happened to him was terrible, and we need to get the finalization on it. There's still stuff to come out. I have heard from people. I always thought that I would open up a can of worms and they just come roaring in, but I think we're too far away from it. But I've heard from various people. For instance, the scene of the accident in which Patton was hurt at and subsequently died from, all types of mysterious people were over it. And one of them is all of them are identified in my book who we could identify, but one in particular, a very mysterious figure. Well, someone called me and said, "I knew that man, and I once talked to him about somehow the Patton death came out, and he turned blue and ran away, and not ran away, but walked away, and we never heard from him again. He was a friend in this circle of friends." And that showed to me that, well, he must have had some guilt about the thing. So anyway, the reaction has just been continual A lot of praise for the book. Believe me, I spent 10 years at it. I'm a professional writer. I just look for stories. I don't go after things just to go after things. I look for good stories. This one was brought to me by my cousin, who was an international private eye investigator, has a firm of his own, who told me that he knew of Bazada, this person who eventually confessed to me that he had actually set up the accident, the strange accident. And when I went to Bazada, let me say that he never would have talked to me had he not had a stroke. This man lived his entire life as what he called a clandestine. This is the very secret persons. And during the war, he was an assassin. One of the first things I did after he told me his story, he had been at Jedburgh, which was a really courageous. This was the beginning of our special forces. He had jumped behind enemy lines, behind the German lines. His job was to organize the Maquis against the Germans when they were fighting back at D-Day. He did all that. Tremendous story about him. And I went to the National Archives, and I dug up everything he told me, and it was all true. This man was sterling as far as what he had told me. And then, as it went on, and we continued to interview, he then told me about. At first, the story was that he knew about this, and that's what my cousin had told me. But it developed finally, and it was obvious as we talked more about it, that he had actually been the guy he was talking about that he knew about. And so Douglas Bazada, this OSS assassin, and the OSS is the forerunner of the CIA, got the order from Wild Bill Donovan to do this. And the other part of that, the other strong part of that, was that there was an intelligence officer with the CIC, that was sort of the FBI of the Army, with Patton's forces. And after the war, he found out about the plot from the Russian side. And let me state right now that this was an OSS NKVD operation. Stalin ordered the hit of Patton as well. And by the way, the OSS and the NKVD were in collusion. And this is all in Target Patton, something that very few people know about.
Well, by the way, sir, separately talking to other historians and folks, I mean, deep with the Russians, even after the Cold War starts, giving them the nukes, giving them the factories, the Rockefellers, the Rothschilds, the Opel factories. I mean, the same crap, U.S.-made goods going through Russia to North Vietnam during that war. This was two military-industrial complexes propping each other up. I mean, that's a side issue, but it's just that in history, we just get continual validation from research like yours.
No, I don't think it is a side issue. I think it's right to the core of the thing, because one of the things that has come out is how deeply embedded the Russian communists, Stalin's agents, were in our government at the time of the Second World War. Nobody knows this. It's only come out now because of Venona. Venona was our breaking of the Russian codes, and this has been kept top secret all the way to the end of the 90s. And what we did is we knew, all this talk about McCarthy being, a crazy man and he didn't know what he was talking about. Everything he said was true. Whatever he was, he was being fed some information from this Venona. The Russians had top-level agents all the way to the top of the government, right into FDR's office. I mean, they were.
Well, let's go over some of that, because in the last 4 or 5 years, I've seen New York Times, Washington Post headlines, even Russian headlines. McCarthy was right. Secret documents released show that it was giant, but that it was a shared deal. There were U.S. agents there, and at the level of the Fabian socialist, like Dr. Carol Quigley wrote at Georgetown in '69, Bill Clinton's mentor, the bankers just wanted somebody to consolidate. Fascist, communist, socialist, they don't care. So I would say it's all, that's kind of like eugenics came from the U.S. and England to Hitler. So it isn't that there were Nazis in America. The Nazis' daddy was in America and England. It's not that the Soviets were infiltrating us. It was that the British intelligence was their daddy. It's so sophisticated how they create the enemies and they create the conflicts. But go ahead.